Hey there, my name is Colin, also known as Skips, and welcome to the Modder's Blueprint. This is a series where I'll teach you everything you need to know to mod Terraria and make super cool content like this. I'm a CS student, and I've been modding Terraria for about 5 years now, and I'm even an active developer on projects such as Spirit Reforged. Now, we're going to be mastering the basics in this series. Visual effects will be built with Terraria's internal assets and systems. Alright, let's hop right into it. Alright, it is good to be back. I know it's been a while, but welcome back to the Modder's Blueprint. This is going to be episode 3. Today we're moving forward with the weapons we've been making. We started with a melee, then we made a ranged. In this episode, we're going to be working on a magic weapon. I've got the sprite for it. It's going to be called the Spore Bloom Staff. This staff is basically going to be an early game craftable AoE that's going to have some nice visual effects. I'm planning to use a held projectile for the weapon drawing, so that's going to be nice to teach you guys how those work, as they're very useful for advanced weapon effects. And we're going to do some nice custom dust, and yeah, it's going to be simple, but it's going to be very effective. I'm going to get some files set up off camera, and I'll be back in a sec. Alright, I have added a lot, almost 200 lines of code, but it's okay. I'm going to go back and I'm going to explain everything. So first, let's start off with the item class. It's pretty similar to Gilded Grenade. I copied it. There are a few things that are unique to held projectiles. First off, this line, public override rule can use item. Basically, it's whether or not the item can be used. It is true by default, but when we're using a held weapon and a held projectile, we want to make sure that only one of them can exist in the world at a time, so we set it to check the own projectile counts index, indexed by the item.shoot, which is the Spore Bloom Staff holdout. We want to make sure that there are 0 of them when we're trying to shoot, otherwise we can't shoot multiple. If we didn't have that, the player would hold down the weapon, and then they would just keep firing held projectiles, and it would be not good. We added item.mana equals 5. We're going to have to do that in the held projectile too, but that makes it a magic weapon, as well as damage class.magic. We added the recipe, of course, reasonably. Now, let's move on to the projectiles. Alright, so we kind of have a lot to go over with the projectile, but these are just 3 timers that are going to help us out, and some of them are already being used just for our behavior. This bool checks if the player can quote-unquote hold the weapon, so we check that the held item of the owner, which owner is the player holding the projectile. So we check owner.helditem.mod item is Spore Bloom Staff. That's this class right here. If it's not, we're no longer holding the item, so we can't hold it anymore. Same thing for owner.channel and owner.cc'd, owner.noitems. All of those are bools that the owner has, the player. And yeah, arm position, we use owner.rotated relative point, adjusted to the player's visual rotation and offset. That's good for, as it says, mount, sitting in a chair, sleeping. We want to use that. Owner.mounted center, and then just set it to true, because that's always how it is. We set texture to Spore Bloom Staff in our file so that we don't have to duplicate this, and instead we just use it here. Can damage, we set this to false because it is technically a friendly projectile, but we don't want it to damage enemies at all whatsoever because it's not really a projectile in the traditional sense, so it can't damage enemies at all. This is kind of important. Projectile width and height should be set to the exact size of the item sprite, which I guess I can show you guys now. This is what I came up with just really quickly. I think it looks kind of nice. But yeah, 4232, 4232. We're going to set to friendly, and we're going to make sure ignore water and tile collide is false and true respectively. Tile collide, self-explanatory, we don't want it to collide with tiles. Ignore water, this slows down projectiles if it's not set to true, so we don't want that. Now in AI, we have a few things to go over. Let's start down here with update held projectile. This one's kind of a doozy, but most of these things you can take at face value. owner.change direction or change dir. Basically, we can input the projectile.direction, which is updated automatically with projectile.velocity. It just checks the sign of the velocity, so no worries there. So this just changes the player's direction, which is going to flip the player, depending on where you're facing. Owner.heldProj, this is the index currently being held by the player. This sets the drawing layer to be in front of the player, but behind the front arm of the player. I'll show you what that looks like in game in just a second. On an item time and item animation, this is we just set these because we want to emulate using an item. Update time lift and update velocity. It's basically you can input these when it's dying, because it's gonna have a little fade out animation when it dies. We want to make sure that if the player's mouse is over here and the projectile's facing there, we want to make sure after the player stops holding, it doesn't keep following the mouse, because I just think it looks a little better. I'll show you that in game as well. We set the rotation to the projectile's velocity to rotation, and then we do the same thing to the player's item rotation. We use owner.setCompositeArm front. This is going to do the composite arm animations for the player. It'll be easier to show in game. Projectile.position, we just set this to arm position minus projectile.size times 0.5f. This is why it's important to make sure projectile.size is the exact size of your sprite, otherwise the drawing is not going to be right. Now we have this code. This is simply code to set the velocity to the owner's direction to the mouse. This code, this if main.myPlayer equals projectile.owner, this just makes sure that we're only running on the client of the player who owns the projectile. What does this mean? In multiplayer, you have two clients in the server. If one client is holding this item and we don't check it, for example, that means the projectile, because projectile AI runs on the local server and remote clients. It runs everywhere. So if we ran this on all clients and we didn't check, it's going to be pointing towards multiple mouse worlds. And why is this? Because main.mouseworld is client side. It's different on each client. So owner.direction to main.mouseworld, if it runs on two different clients, it's going to be pointing at the owner's mouse. Then it's also going to be the owner's direction to the other mouse. So your held projectile is just going to start moving all over the place, and then you're going to have a bunch of desync issues. Old velocity, this is basically just a check for net spam, because we don't want to spam a bunch of updates. But if the projectile velocity is different than what it was last frame, all we have to do is set projectile.net update to true, which is going to send a packet to the server. Lots of stuff you can do here, but basically it syncs the data to the server, and because we're using client-side data, we want to make sure that's true, so that all of the clients and the server are synced up in multiplayer. I know that was probably a little bit confusing, and there's going to be more multiplayer stuff as we go through the series, but yeah, that's that. Sprite direction. Very simple, it's the direction of the sprite. You can go over, this is just very basic drawing. We flip the sprite if it's facing the to the left. We get the rotation and then we flip it. Math helper.pi over 2, this is because the sprite is a staff, so we want to make it go down and kind of, we want to make it look like this in game, obviously without the pixels, but pointing towards the mouse. So that's how it's going to look in game. And then, yeah, we also have Spore Bloom Staff Spore. I just have that in there for the future. Then we go up here. So, let's start by what happens as soon as the projectile spawns. Boy, there's a lot. So, we, same client side explanation as earlier. Then we set the rotation. This should be... Nah, that should just be that, I think. Actually, we set the net update because we updated the projectile's velocity with something on the client, so we have to sync it to the server and other clients. Use time, combine hooks, not total use time. This basically just takes in item effects like attack speed from accessories, reforges, all that stuff. Then we're setting use time to that, because that is going to be the attack speed of our weapon, and we want to make sure it's affected by bonuses, because, I mean, if you're wearing an accessory that makes you attack faster, and then this is an item and it doesn't work with that, kind of feels crappy. So, yeah. If dying, that's a bool I have up here. That's just going to let us know that when we're dying, when we're no longer holding the weapon up here, this code doesn't run, because that's shooting and stuff like that. So, timer increments every frame. Because it increments every frame, this code is only going to run once, because timer, this runs, and then you go down here, and then timer goes. So this only runs once. Timer, this is a mod operator. This is a dividing remainder operator. What this operator does is you take a number, 5, divide it by 5, the remainder is 0. Because 5 divided by 5, there's no remainder. Because it's an even division, perfect division. So that is the remainder of 0. So when we do something percent something equals 0, we're checking that x divided by y has a remainder of 0. What does this do here? This makes this code run every x amount of frames. So if use time is 60, timer is going to increment. It's going to happen once at 0, because 0 divided by anything has a remainder of 0. So 0 modulo 60 is going to equal 0. Then it's going to run. Then we're going to wait all the way until timer equals 60. And then it's going to run again, because 60 divided by 60 has a remainder of 0. And then it's going to run again at 120, because 120 divided by 60 is 2, remainder 0. So this basically just makes something happen every X amount of frames, which same thing happens down here. We have ticks, so when animation time is set greater than 0, we check bop bop bop, and so that's going to run, in this example, if we set it to 20, 5 ticks, it'll run 4 times, once every 5 ticks. Then we spawn our projectiles, and then this is just kind of a recoil animation. I am built, so I'm going to show you guys what it looks like in game. Right now, I'm just spawning a wooden arrow. And yeah, wow, that was a lot. But that's like probably going to be the most explanation for this video. And I'm going to show you guys what it looks like in game real quick. Alright, so I'm in game. Spore Bloom Staff, 5 magic damage. And I click. Look at it go. It's pretty neat. Now you'll notice, it's not glued to the mouse. Why is that happening? That's on purpose. That's purposeful. It's this little bit of code. Ding ding ding. We can just set this to, for example, we can just do this. Whoops. We do this, it's glued to the mouse, which is fine. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. But I personally like doing this for a lot of things. I think it makes smooth animations. So when you set something to itself an alert function, and you alert between itself and the goal of where you want it to be, and then you use a relatively small amount in the alert function, usually anywhere from like 0.05 to like 0.03, or 0.3. 0.3, it would be pretty glued, but like if you spin really fast, whoops. If you spin really fast, that's happening because of that. I'm hitting that. If you spin really fast, it wouldn't be like super perfect. It's kind of hard to notice. But you know, if you make it really, really low, look at it. It's trying so hard to get to the mouse. So yeah, you can do that. And that just kind of creates a trailing effect, which is going to look really good because it's going to be like a puff AoE projectile. Another thing you'll notice right now is that it's not really being held at the arm, it's just kind of in the center of our player. We can fix this. Do I still have it copied? Nope. So we're going to do plus new vector 2. It's 20 to start. Get that rotated by rotation. and this is the arm position, so we're using that for drawing, and this is going to offset it by 20 pixels to the right, or on the x-axis, and now we're actually holding it kind of like a staff, and it's rotated correctly, and yeah, hey, that's pretty nice. Let's do some drawing things, because it kind of just fades in and out of existence. So, we're gonna make a float called fade in. We're gonna set it to 1f. If timer less than 5f, fade in equals timer divided by 5f. Then we're gonna multiply the color by fade in. So now, it's not very obvious, but as you can see, it fades in. We can make it a little more apparent for the effect. And so now it's not like instantly appearing, which I think looks slightly nicer. Looks a little cleaner. And now we can do the same thing with the dying animation, quote unquote. So dying fade in equals projectile dot divided by 20f. Fade in, fade out, fade in, fade out. I mean, it's probably a little slow, so we can half that time, and bink. That just has a little nice fade in animation. Yeah, that's pretty nice. I want to kind of make it move back a little bit. So how are we gonna do this? I kind of let me workshop how to give it a recoil animation real quick. Alright, I'm back, and I figured out a neat way to do the recoil animation. I made an int called recoil timer. Whenever recoil timer is greater than 0, we decrement it, and then we clamp recoil timer to a maximum of 60 using this. MathHelper.min just takes the minimum of 2 values, so if recoil timer is greater than 60, it'll pick 60 instead. Then we do the same thing we did up here to offset it forward. Instead, we're going to offset it back by a maximum of 15 pixels when offset is 60, because offset divided by 60, there's does there need to be one of these here? Maybe. When offset's divided by 60, it'll be 1, so negative 15f times 1 equals 1, obviously. And then we just set recoil timer to a random value between 7 and 14. This is not inclusive. 7, 15 is either 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, or 12, 13, or 15. And then, yeah, this game gets some nice little pushback whenever it fires a projectile, which I think is nice. I also have another texture here. Bang. Boom. This is a little outline. It can be cool to add an outline. Maybe when it's off cooldown? I don't know. Let's check if recoil time is greater than 0. Let's do a similar thing here. That, and then the color white times. Actually, we can just do this like this. Opacity. We're gonna do text outline instead. Oh, that's pretty neat. A little outline whenever it shoots something. I like that. I like that quite a bit. Let's make an actual color. I feel like red. I feel like red might look cool. I don't know. So let's get a new color here. 4, 6, 7, nice. 58. Oh, that is cool. Look at that. That's a neat little shooting animation. Now we gotta, we're gonna have to rebuild. But now I think all we really have to do is make the Spore Projectile, which is just gonna be kind of a lingering spore type dealio, and yeah, we should be done. Actually, I can add a shoot sound real quick. Ignore that. I was looking at some old code of mine. Level 43. What was that? Yes. Come over. Can we pick variance? I think pitch variance will be nice because it's gonna be kind of a burst attack. It's a little loud. Pitch. Let's pitch it down a little bit. Ooh, that's pretty neat. I like that. So yeah, I mean that's already pretty cool. I mean you could even throw on like a shit with this bullet. Oops, sorry. Bro, this is already a cooler magic weapon than vanilla, but it's okay. Because we're just gonna do some spores and stuff. Let's also, while we're at it, owner dot use mana? No. Okay. Let's check if owner dot mana stat mana less than or equal less than 5, because that's how much we're going to be using. Dying through. We want to return because we don't want this code to run if the player does not have enough mana. Else owner dot stat mana equals 5. This should use mana, I think. Yes. Okay, we're using mana. And let's just make sure it dies whenever we run out of mana. Oh! Make sure to set the projectile at time left. Because, Did it do it? I wasn't paying attention. Kind of. Yeah, I mean, that works. Yeah. And then it just kind of dies because you don't have enough mana. Cool. You could even add in like a sound effect there, kind of like a dink, or like a sound effect just to let the player know they're out of mana. But yeah, let's just work on. Wow. I have no code in here, so it's just gonna send out empty those. So yeah, so that's the texture, by the way, we're gonna use for our spores. We're gonna do a little bit of custom drawing, and I think if time permits, which it should, we are gonna do a bit of custom dust, because I think that'll really make it work. All right. Alrighty, I have added some stuff. On hit as well. So I've just added some basic stuff. Width, height, it's friendly. It's gonna penetrate infinitely, not colliding through tiles. We want to randomize the float. We want to set the rotation to a complete random rotation. We're using static NPC immunity, which makes it so they're not going to stack up and be a little bit overpowered. The velocity is going to slow down, and then in pre-draw, we use frame because when you look at the sprite, it has 3 different frames, but we obviously don't want them all drawn at once, and we're not going to animate between them or anything. So we just set frame to one of these 3, random. It's going to be either 0, 1, or 2, remember, not inclusive. And so text.frame, as you can see, you can read the example here, but we have one column of horizontal frames. We have 3 vertical frames. We always want to be on the first column, so that's frame X. And for frame Y, we want to use projectile.frame, which is always going to be either 0, 1, or 2, and that's set on spawn. And then we set frame in the source rectangle. That's what source rectangle is for. And then, whoops, instead of other draw at times when we draw up here, we use the size of the texture divided by 2f. We're gonna use the frame. We're gonna use the size of the frame divided by 2f because we want to use the frame that we're on, not the entire frame, because that's gonna have some different dimensions. No, that's not quite right. I reckon. Why is that happening? Huh. Ah, return false and pre-draw, guys. Return false and pre-draw. Oh, there we go. That's quite neat. I mean, looks pretty bad. But, you do progress equals 40. Color. Probably a good idea to add some randomization to the color. So we're gonna do this. We're gonna do color equals new color. I think red spores would be cool, but we can do red / orange spores. So how are we gonna do this? We're gonna do color dot lerp. We're gonna start with 45. And maybe this orangish color in the mushroom spread. I will cut that out. In the mushroom sprite. 39. And then how we're going to do this, we're going to call main.rand.nextFloat, which this returns a number between 0 and 1 as a float. So either it could be 0.01, 0.05, etc. So this is going to return a random color in between these two. And then we just use draw color times progress. And I honestly think it should be scaled a bit more. That's something. You know, there's no dust yet, so we're getting there. Let's make sure this is already pretty. Faked. There we go. Those are some cool looking spores. Kind of. Alright, I know a way to make this look a little bit better. We're gonna spawn about double the amount of projectiles. That's alright. Here, add some randomization. And then we're probably gonna have to make that custom dust. Should be no big deal. Yeah, that looks right. That's pretty neat. Maybe a little bit less spread on there. Ah, that's actually kind of like how that looks. I mean, it's simple, but but I don't hate it. It's kind of got this very nice cloud effect. We can make the projectiles. I actually think it'd be neat for progress is 1, so we want to do 1F minus progress. This will kind of flip the interpolation, so we're going to start at 1F, and then we're going to go to 1.2F as it happens. Ooh, and yeah, now they're kind of scaling up as they die. I quite like that. I will say, yeah, projectile hitbox needs to be increased a little bit. Okay, yeah, that's about perfect. Very cool indeed. If we wanted to, we could give it a little bit of faded. If progress less than 0.05, progress less. Yep, I think just. I might be doing this right. I can't tell actually. This is working on this. No, it's not. Wait. So if progress is less, right? Sure. And oh, I'm just so silly. I forgot that. Oh, yes, that should work. No, okay, okay. So I have 1. Right, we have 1. So. There we go. Okay. Because, I can't probably get this. Yeah, what do you like? Doing this? There we go, there we go. Now they fade out nicely. Wow. Whoa, oh, wow. Only for genius. That's alright. Oh, that looks so nice, actually. I like how clean. Okay, editor's note here. So, what was happening, and it'll be explained a little bit more in a sec, but, my timers were flipped and my math was wrong, but basically progress, it goes from 0 to 1. It starts at 0 when the projectile spawns, and then it goes to 1 as it dies. Fade in, we want to be the reverse, but that'll be changed in a second. Basically, we check if progress is less than 25% of the way through. We set the fade in to be the progress divided by 25%, or 0.25, and that is going to make it fade from 0 to 1 in the first 25% of the progress, which is going to make it fade in. We're going to make it fade out in a second. But yeah, that's what was going on. That looks. We don't have any custom desks. Dust. But we're gonna do. No. Present. Whoa, what am I doing? Puff ID dot poisoned for 180 seconds. Here, this should spawn a little. Oh yeah, there we go. Poisoning enemies with the mushroom spores. Seems pretty reasonable. Yeah, I quite like that. A little too often. There you go, just some particles in the little spore cloud thingy. That's pretty cool. actually think the scaling up could be a bit more apparent even. What's happening there? I know what else goes progress. Basically, we don't really need to assign anything to that. And then what was happening is progress, when progress is less than 0.25 for the first 25% of the lifetime, it was set to this, and then it would go to 1. Because yeah, but it would be set to 1, but then as soon as progress is greater than 0.25f, it would go back to what we had there, which wasn't seamless, but now it should, whoops, 1f minus. Yeah, there we go. So now it's a seamless fade in, fade out. Very nice. This is turning out exactly how I wanted it to. So let's, I think we're just gonna add a couple of custom dusts, and then we're gonna be all set for this video. Alright, I went ahead and added 2 different custom particles for us to play with. Spore Bloom Smoke is very simply going to be similar to the Spore, just a dust that pretty much mimics how the Spore looks and how the Spore works. It increases, it's going to increase in scale. Do Spore Bloom Staff 4. And then it has the framing. Should be 3. That should be fine. If it doesn't draw right, we'll fix it. Spore Bloom Sparkles, kind of the same thing, but this actually uses custom drawing. So first, we set the texture to invisible, which is just an asset I just added. Nothing. We set it to nothing, and then we do whatever we want. It also has some fun custom data shenanigans. Dust.custom data is kind of insane. I can't even... It's basically, it can store anything. But the reason we have to do this is because dusts aren't instanced. They're not like a particle. That's why a lot of mods add particle systems. They can't hold their own data, so dust.custom data is all you got. In a projectile, you can store infinite, like not infinite, but you can store as many things as you need. In a dust, you got custom data, so you can do a lot. I've stored primitive trails on dusts before, like a whole array of vectors, and because you can do like an array of types or an array of objects, like dust.custom data equals new object. And now you can store an array of 5 objects. It's kind of ridiculous, but let's not get into that. Basically, this just checks if the dust.custom data exists and it's true. It's a bool set to true. Yeah, if, actually I think it's just if, wait, no, yeah, it checks, it casts it to a bool and then checks if it's true. This just adds rotation to the dust. This adds some light based on the dust color, and then this is just some drawing. I have no idea how this is gonna look in game. I haven't really tested it. But that's the fun part. So let's get this built real quick. Alright, we're built. Let's start out with the sparkles. I'll do maybe some green sparkles at the kind of tip of the staff there. So we're gonna do dot center. We're gonna do mod content dot dust type spore balloon sparkle. Kind of copy this. Actually, no. We want vector 2 dot zero because I don't think I want these sparkles to move. New color. Let's grab a green. Oops. Ding ding ding. I'm gonna add a green from the spore balloon staff palette. That looks fine. 28. 216. 94. No idea how this is gonna look. Whoa. Alright, we probably want additive blending. So, to make it look... Holy guacala. Hello. Those are exuberant. Very, very exuberant. Can we fix that? Please. So that might just be our star texture. I will not lie. I don't imagine this will look very good. And then I'm using vanilla textures. I mean, it's just incessantly bright for no reason. But other than that, it looks fine. We can I think it ought to scale down quite a bit faster. Maybe. Maybe. Let's go here. Explode for chance. And then we need to make this actually go to the tip. Pause. So we're gonna do this. Maybe a little bit further back. And then we're just going to add some randomization. Oh, it looks terrible. Kind of. Yeah, no, that looks pretty terrible. It'll be either 1 or 2. That's alright. We should probably scale them down a bit. Okay, that looks like fine. That looks fine enough. It's a little... it's fine. I'm gonna add some sparkles shooting outward. And that's when we're gonna utilize some data through. I'm low-key gonna steal this for the color. 0. And then listen, work smarter, not harder. This is how we do it. Oh, now that's cool. Oh, I like those sparkles a lot more. A lot more, actually. I don't even like the look of those, honestly. So go like this. Oh, that's so clean. Oh, look at that. Oh, I love that. I love that a lot, actually. Not trying to glaze myself or anything, but that is a very cool effect. And they look quite nice. All vanilla textures, by the way. Don't hate on vanilla, y'all. Don't hate on vanilla. It's cool. Yeah, we have some sparkly action going on. Now I do want to add some dude, that's too long. Let's add. I'm gonna do the same thing. Wow, look at me go. Spore bloom smoke. We're gonna make it not additive. See how this looks. Huh, our framing's wrong. Whoops. What was this, 32? It might have supposed to be 32. Yes. Looks terrible. Terrible. Why? What does it become gray? What is happening here? I'm gonna keep it a $1.50. Keep it a stack. I don't really want to deal with vanilla dog, so we're just gonna do we're gonna do it all ourselves because I don't care. I kind of hate dusts, how they draw by default. So just don't. Bro, Loki, copy all this. Honestly, who cares? Who cares? Chat. I don't. We can do dust.frame.y. That doesn't matter. Progress. We're gonna do dust.alpha. 255. Dust. We're gonna do color. Do dust.rotation. We're gonna do dust.scale. And you know what? We're gonna call it there. Because why? Why make things harder if you don't have to? You know? And personally, I much prefer kind of doing the work myself for dust because in the end it's usually less work for a better result. So, one nugget of wisdom there. Now I can't even tell what's if there's dust in there. Oh yeah, I can. There's you can kind of see it. So I kind of want to make it. That's fine. Kind of make one they kind of fade out really fast. Where are we? There we go. Let's make them. I do want to make them bigger. We don't need custom data. Yeah, there we go. Kind of add some more sporing to the party without actually using projectiles. And then occasionally is that too rare? Is that too common? I don't know. Alright, we're gonna do none of that. We're gonna do yeah, that's tough. A little small. Look at that. Look at that. That is so clean, guys. I really like that. Let's test it out with some weapons, or not some weapons, on some enemies. Okay. Deals like no damage against these hard-mode jungle slimes. But the thought is there, at least. These are also hard mode enemies. They're gonna take 0 damage. Takes the mana. I mean, wow, this is looking pretty great. And inflicts the debuff. I mean, yeah. Honestly, I'm really happy with how this looks. I think this taught a lot. With held projectiles and custom dust drawing and stuff like this, you can have yourself some very nice pieces of content. And yeah, wow. All right, cool. Alrighty, well I'm in a new world that isn't in hard mode just to test it out on some enemies and actually deal some damage. But yeah, this I think this concludes episode 3 of the Modder's Blueprint. Very proud of this guy. This, I mean, this is something I wouldn't even hesitate to, like, put in a mod of mine. This is, very clean, it's fun to use. I mean, look at it go. Solid AoE. Yeah, man, very proud of this one. Again, tutorials are starting to get long just because there's so much to cover. And there was a lot that I didn't cover that was kind of covered from previous videos, so if you guys are confused at all, be sure to check out episode 1 and 2. We do some things. We make a grenade with some cool animations, and we make a basic sword with some on-hit effects. It's very nice with a health pickup item, so those two are pretty great. But yeah, I mean, thank you guys so much for watching and the continued support. I do just want to say I'm sorry about not uploading a couple of months there. School got the best of me. But I'm back, trying to get back into the swing of things. Next episode, I think we're in for a fun one. I think we are going to finish off the 4 weapons we have done with the grenade and the sword with a nice summon weapon. Actually, if you haven't seen this cool grenade, pretty cool grenade we made in episode. Wow, this thing is pretty cool grenade we made in episode 2. We also made a sword that creates the healing mushrooms. Come on. Wow, this outro's getting long. But yeah, again, if you guys have any questions, any suggestions, let me know. I hope the recording quality and the audio quality in general is a little bit better. There's the healing item this episode. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Thanks for the support, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.